Hi everyone, it's Miss Gunderson here. Today we're going to continue with our math lesson. Hold on just a second, guys. Starting with our math lesson, we have been talking about coins. And then the last lesson we reviewed their values. We talked about how we add the same value coins. We talked about how to add mixed value coins. And then we briefly touched on how to combine different coins to make the same value. So we talked about if we had 50 cents to get to, what different combinations of coins could we do to get to 50 cents? We talked about using 2 quarters or 1 quarter, 2 dimes, and a nickel. All of that good stuff. So we're going to do that a little bit deeper today, and then we're actually going to use real coins and real items to pretend that we need to buy them, and we need to check, do we have enough money? Do we have the right coins? What combination of coins can we use to get to this value that we need? So a lot of practice today, and to help us practice, I have actual change with us today, a whole bunch of coins just waiting to be used. So I encourage you, if you do have change or your parents do have coins that you're able to use, I encourage you to use them as we go along with the lesson. If you don't, that's fine. We can go along with my lesson and you can just follow along. But if you do have coins that you can touch and feel and move around, I encourage you to, because that's extra practice for you. So starting off, we're just going to go over our coins again really quickly, because I know by now you totally got this down. So starting with our highest value coin, we have our quarter. This is our quarter. Oop, he's upside down. On the front of our quarter is George Washington. And on the back, I've discussed briefly with you that it doesn't always have the eagle. Sometimes you'll see quarters that have states. This one has Maryland. This one is the eagle. This one is Rhode Island. The one I have in my hand is South Carolina. So not every back of the quarter will have that eagle, but you know it's a quarter if it either has an eagle on the back or it has a different design about a state. So those are pretty easy to point out. They're also the biggest coin. So that's a good trick to learn. The next highest value coin is our dime. Our dime is the smallest coin. It's pretty thin. It feels light. In the previous lesson, I talked to you guys about if I had both a penny and a dime in 2 different hands and I could feel them, that you could very easily determine which one was a dime because it's thinner, it's lighter, and much smaller. So it's our smallest coin, so that's an easy clue for picking out a dime. The next value coin we'll talk about is the nickel. The nickel is bigger than the penny and the dime, but just because it's bigger than the dime doesn't mean that its value is bigger. It's still only worth 5 cents. We have a president on the front and a nice building on the back. So these are easy identifiers or easy clues to figuring out which is the nickel. Now, some people can get confused between the nickel and the quarter, but if you put them side by side, and if you have one physically with you right now, you would be able to tell that the quarter is much bigger. If you just put them right in front of each other, the nickel just kind of sits right inside of it, so that you can tell that the quarter is much bigger. So that's a big identifier between the two, is the size. And lastly, our smallest value coin, of course, is our penny. Our penny is the only copper coin, which is the easiest way to identify a penny. On the front of the penny is Abe Lincoln. And on the back It depends. Sometimes the newer ones have a little shield and it says 1 cent, and some of the older ones have this design. So it just depends on if it's a newer penny or an older penny. Either way, they're both copper color, so that's our giveaway. So briefly going over how we count coins that have the same value, starting with pennies. Pennies are worth 1 cent, so we know that we can just count by ones to figure out how many pennies we have. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3. 3 pennies, 3 cents. Looking at our nickels, if we had 4 nickels, we could do one of 2 things. We can either count how many nickels we have and then multiply by the value, which is 5, or we can skip count by 5 to get the same answer. So if you're skip counting, that means we're going to start with 1 and go 5, 10, 15, 20, and have 20 cents. Or count all of them, which is 4, and then multiply by 5, which is the value, and we still get 20 cents. Dimes. Dimes are worth 10 cents. So again, we can either skip count or multiply by the value. In this case, the value is 10 cents. So if we count 4 dimes times 10, we get 40 cents. Or if we just skip count by 10, that means we are taking 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, and we get the same value of 40 cents. Now quarters start to get a higher value. Quarters are worth 25 cents. So again, we can either skip count by 25, which is the value, or we can count how many we have and multiply by 25. 4 times 25, or skip count, starting with 25. We have 25, 50, 75, 100. Now 100 cents is equal to what? 100 cents is equal to $1. So 4 quarters equals $1. Now if I have $1 and add another quarter, that makes 125 cents, which is the same as $1.25. So that's how we will refresh our minds on how we add same value coins together. If we're adding mixed value coins together, remember we're going to start with the highest value coin and then work our way from there, starting with the highest value, then finding the next highest value, and then finding the next highest value until we don't have coins left over anymore. So if I had 1 quarter, 1 dime, 2 nickels, and 2 pennies. The quarter is our highest value, so we're going to start with our quarter. We have 25 cents. Next highest value is the dime. Only 1 dime, 10. So we're adding 10 to the 25 that we just did, which would bring us to 35. Then we have our nickels, 2 nickels, 5 cents each. So I'm picking that up. We're at 35. So now we're at 40, 50, 2 pennies left, 50, 51, 52, 52 cents. So I started with my highest value and then I worked my way to the pennies. That is just the easiest way for you to do so. Another tool to use for adding mixed value coins is to put them into groups. So if you had a bunch of coins, you want to put them into groups. So make a stack of quarters or a pile of quarters, and then your dimes and your nickels and your pennies, and then you can count by each group first and then add them all together. So now we're going to do a little exercise or an activity having to do with buying items. So if I went to the store and I needed to buy an item, there are many different combinations of coins to get to the same value. We kind of practiced this before. We said that if we had 50 cents to get to, there are other options besides just 2 quarters to get to 50 cents. We could use 5 dimes. We could use a combination of quarters and dimes, quarter, dimes, and nickels, and even pennies. So with that in mind, we're going to try some different combinations today on how we can buy items. So let's pretend that we're at the store and you want to buy this pen. This pen is worth 30 cents. Think to yourself right now, what is the first combination of coins that comes to your mind to make 30 cents? The first combination of coins that comes to my mind are 3 dimes. I know that dimes are worth 10 cents each, so it would take 3 dimes to get to 30 cents. So if I was walking up to the cashier, I handed her the pen. She told me it was 30 cents and that I owed her 30 cents for the pen. If I looked in my bag of change or my wallet of change or my pockets and I had 3 dimes, I could hand her 3 dimes and get the pen. But that doesn't mean every single time you go to buy something that you're going to have the perfect amount of change that you were hoping for. So let's pretend that I only had 2 dimes. If I only had 2 dimes, but I had all the other coins, what would I need to add to the 2 dimes to get to 30? 2 dimes equals 20 cents. So how many more cents do I need to get to 30? And what coins would I use? Remember, you don't have any more dimes left. One combination would be nickels. I could take 2 more nickels and add them to my already 2 dimes. 2 dimes equals 20, 2 nickels equal 10, add them together makes 30. So I could hand the cashier my change and get the pen. So that's another combination of change. Now, what if I didn't have any dimes? All I had was quarters, pennies, and nickels. What could I do? What combination could I use to get to 30 cents when I only have quarters, pennies, and nickels? Looking at my highest value coin of a quarter is worth 25 cents. So right now I have 25 cents. To get to 30, how many more cents do I need? 5. I need 5 more cents. I could either use 1 nickel or 5 pennies. So if I took 1 nickel and added it to 25, I would be at 30 cents. Another combination that I could hand the cashier and get the pen. Now, what if I only had pennies left? Meaning I only had 1 quarter and pennies left. That means I would need how many pennies to get to 5? Pennies are worth 1 cent, and I need 5 more cents to get to 30. So how many pennies would I need? 5 pennies. I would need 5 more pennies to add to 25 cents to hand the cashier. And then I could get my pen. So those are a couple of the other options. I don't always need the first option that comes to my head. We just came up with 5 or more options for making 30 cents. Let's move on to another item. During this time, a lot of us have been using hand sanitizer to keep healthy and to keep our hands clean so we don't get sick. So if I was at the store and I came up to the cashier and said, I want to buy the hand sanitizer, and they scanned it and it said, you owe 75 cents for the hand sanitizer. I could say, great, I'm going to look at my change, see what change I have, and think of the combinations in my head for how much coins I might need. So the first combination of coins that come to mind for me is 75 cents, meaning 4 quarters. So that's the first combination I think of, for 3 quarters, sorry. I chose 3 quarters as my first combination because quarters are my highest value coin. So I knew that I would need less of them to get to what I needed. Plus, it's only 3 coins versus more than 3 coins. So that's my first option. That's the simplest option, 3 quarters. I could hand the cashier 3 quarters, 75 cents, and then get my item. But we don't always have the right amount of change. We don't have that combination. So sometimes we have to think of other ways to get to 75 or whatever change you need. So for example, maybe I only have 2 quarters, 2 dimes, 2 nickels, and 5 pennies. That's all I have. So starting with my highest value coin, 2 quarters, which makes 50 cents. So I could put those aside. After that, I look at my dimes. That's my next highest value coin. I only have 2 of them. 2 dimes equals what? 20 cents. So adding that to the quarters, which made 50 cents, what's 50 plus 20? 70. So these are the coins that I have left. Okay? I have 70. I need to get to 75. I have 2 options. Either I can use 5 pennies or 1 nickel. It's up to you. You might want to use your pennies, you might want to use your dime or your nickel. Either one works. So either I could hand the cashier my 2 quarters, 2 dimes, and 5 pennies, or I could hand her 2 quarters, 2 dimes, and 1 nickel. Either option works. Now, sometimes you don't have any quarters, which means you don't have the highest value coin, which makes it a little trickier. So let's pretend that I only have 4 dimes. I only have 4 dimes. What does 4 dimes equal? How many cents? 40 cents. So I have 40 cents, and let's pretend I only have 3 nickels. What is 3 nickels? If we're counting by fives, that means we have 5, 10, 15. So all these nickels is 15 cents, plus the 40 cents that we have of dimes. So what is 15 plus 40? 55. So if we combine our dimes and our nickels, we have 55 cents. $0.55. Now let's practice. Pretend that all I have left is pennies. All I have left. I don't have any quarters, I don't have any dimes, I don't have any more nickels. All I have is pennies left. Think to yourself, how many pennies will it take to get to 75? Remember, we already have 55 cents. How many more pennies? Remember, when we count with pennies, they're only worth 1. So you can think about it as a subtraction problem to find the difference. You could take 75 minus 55, or you can count your pennies. So right now I have 55 cents. And all I have left is pennies. So I have to count my pennies by 1. So starting at 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. How many more to get to 75? We only need 5 more. 71, 72, 73, 74, and 75. So it looks like I had enough pennies to get to 75. So we originally thought that the smallest amount of coins possible to make 75 cents was 3 quarters. And now we have made the combination that uses a lot more than 3 coins. Look at all these coins. This equals 75 cents. Look at the difference between how many coins it took. This only took 3, and this took a lot because we have so many pennies. So that shows us that there are so many different combinations of coins that we can use to get to the same value. So this way we can practice that if we were in a real store, that we don't always have to have the first combination of coins that we think of. So if we don't have the highest value coin of a quarter, that doesn't mean that we can't buy something that's worth $1 or 75 cents or 50 cents or higher. That just means we have to think about different combination of coins to get there. It's a good idea to start with your highest value coins, see how many you have. Sometimes you might be able to buy something just based off of having the highest value coins. Sometimes you're going to have to go to the next highest value coin, count those, and see what else you need. Sometimes you're going to need a few pennies. Sometimes you're going to need no pennies at all. Sometimes you're going to use all quarters, and sometimes you might use all dimes. Either way, doesn't matter, as long as you're having the correct amount or enough change. If I only had 2 quarters and that was it, would I be able to buy this 75-cent hand sanitizer? If I only had 2 quarters, would I have enough? I would not have enough because 2 quarters is only 50 cents. So I wouldn't have enough. If I had 100 pennies, would I have enough to buy this 75-cent hand sanitizer? I would. Just because they look different and that one handful might be full of pennies and the other would only have a couple quarters, it doesn't matter. As long as you have enough. Because you can't buy anything unless you have enough change or enough money. So I hope today you learned all the other kinds of ways that we can use our change to get to the value we need, whether we're using our biggest value coins or our smallest value coins. It won't matter as long as you know how to add your mixed value coins together. You're going to be able to make the combination that works. So I hope you guys enjoyed. There's going to be a Google form, a couple questions for you to practice with. I encourage you to use real change as much as you can so that you can touch and feel and experience it for yourself. Thanks again, guys. Bye-bye.